I see students make these mistakes all the time in their Cambridge English exams. So keep watching because even you are making those mistakes. I'll break down the biggest mistakes in each paper of the exam. So, use of English and reading, writing, listening, and speaking. All of them. But don't worry, some of them are really simple and easy to fix. So if you watch this video before your next practice test, then you won't make the same mistake again. I think it's that easy and that simple. So let me start with reading and use of English. This one is the first paper of Cambridge English exams. And the biggest and most crucial mistake almost all students are making is poor time management. Because in this one, you get quite a lot of time, but you are given quite a lot of tasks as well. Use of English exercises are quite quick, but reading, those long texts, they really take a lot of time. And poor time management often results in not having enough time to do those reading exercises. They just take forever, right? Because you get stuck on one use of English question or exercise beforehand, and then you are missing the time at the end. So, my solution for this is to actually start with reading. Even though it may seem strange or weird in a way, that you are firstly going to reading and only then doing use of English, but hear me out, it actually makes sense. Because firstly, you spend those 50 minutes, an hour on reading, just reading. Because that takes a lot of time, you need to be calm, not under stress. So you do that and then you do those use of English exercises. The thing is, you can still do part 1, part 2 in 3-5 minutes if you really don't have the time, or you can just guess quite accurately. So try that strategy out in your next practice test or in your exam and see if it's better, because I believe that you will feel much calmer during the test because you will know that you already have reading done. Reading is very stressful, takes forever, and almost nobody likes it. And the second huge mistake students are making in reading is actually reading those long texts first and only then looking at those questions. It feels natural, but it's actually wrong. I think you should always read questions first and then go back to the text and scan the text for those specific keywords, phrases, and answers. This is especially true for reading part 5, the one where you have a long text and 6 questions, each question paired with 1 paragraph. That means that you can read a question first and then you know what to look for in the paragraph. Because if you read it first, then go to the question and then read it back, it just takes a lot of time and you don't have much spare time in reading and use of English, and you probably know that. So give this strategy a go and you'll see that your accuracy and also your efficiency will improve. Alright, so that was reading and use of English. Now on to writing. Writing is arguably the hardest part of the entire exam. So, couple of things. The first one I see is not planning your writing at all. Just looking at a task and starting to write or type straight away. And that's a huge mistake. Because you don't have a clear plan, clear structure in your mind, and you're just writing straight off the bat, as we can say. And that's very dangerous, because then your ideas are quite unclear, they're not nicely organized, and it can become a mess very easily. Also, there's the risk of missing something from the task, from the instructions. A better way to do this is to read the task properly, at least twice, and then do a quick plan, either in your head or just note it down on a piece of paper. In your plan, you should write down your structure. So introduction, then your main body paragraphs, and then some conclusion. And for each paragraph, just write down simple 2-3 bullet points, what ideas you want to touch upon. Especially in your essays. Try to think about those ideas, what kind of arguments, examples you could provide. Also, it's nice to jot down some useful vocabulary or phrases or linking words that you know you want to use, so that you don't forget them. So that was mistake number 1. Now our second mistake is actually not connecting your text properly using linking words or cohesive devices. Those are words like however, on the other hand, in addition, and so on. They might not seem very big or important, but they actually are. Because the better your text flows, the much easier it is to read and the higher marks it gets. It's that simple. So try to connect not only your sentences or ideas, but also paragraphs. So at the beginning of an essay paragraph, for example, you can say another key factor to consider is, so that you show that you follow through. So look up some useful linking words for adding information, cause and effect, or contrasting on the internet, and give them a go in your next essay, proposal, or report. And my final, third mistake in writing is skipping introduction or conclusion. Introduction and conclusion should be the foundation of your text. No text can be done without them. Of course, in each style they will look slightly differently. They won't be the same in a letter and essay, right? but you must always consider them. So if you skip introduction and you just dive straight into the topic, it seems very abrupt and illogical. So always start with a short introduction, nothing too long, just 2-3 sentences. In a letter, it will be your opening. And at the end, always close off with a short conclusion. In this one, you should usually summarize your text, give some suggestions, recommendations, or just your own opinion. This also depends on the task. So next up, we have listening. Listening might seem easy and super simple, but it's actually not. Many students are making this mistake of underestimating it. They are not actually practicing with real listening practice tests. They think that they understand podcasts or videos in English, so there's no need to practice. But in reality, the listening tasks are super tricky and you need to understand the logic behind Cambridge answers. So the solution is to practice, and practice a lot, at least once, twice a week. Do a full practice test and don't just check your score, but go back and analyze your mistakes. What was wrong, what was right, and why. Look at a transcript if possible, because that can help you a lot. So that's the first mistake. And our second one, even if you practice, you don't actually preview questions. You're always given those 30, 45 seconds or a full minute before the recording starts. And the mistake is you just sit there, relax, or look around. Instead, try to actively read the questions, think about the topic, and try to even predict the answers, especially in listening part 2, where you have those gaps and need to fill them with one word. That can make a huge difference in your score. So give it a go, because I think it's absolutely invaluable. And lastly, we have speaking. Speaking can feel very overwhelming or stressful at first. I know that, I've been in that situation. But trust me, it's easier than you think. But only being able to speak English fluently is not enough. And that's the first mistake. Students think I can speak English, it's not a problem. But when they get to the exam, it actually is a problem. Because in the exam, it's not enough to just answer those questions and you'll be good. You need to complete some tasks. And if you don't know how these tasks work, you'll feel lost. My first big tip is to watch a full speaking example on YouTube, where there are 2 or 3 students with examiner and they show you how speaking works. This is good at the beginning of your preparation, because then you kind of understand how you should answer, how you should structure your answers, and what the examiners really want and expect. Because then you understand that there are 4 parts in the exam. In the first part, it's an interview, you must answer basic questions. In the second one, you must speak about pictures. In the third one, you should collaborate with your partner. And the fourth one, it's a discussion with your partner, but also on your own, answering those rather complex questions. So that was the first mistake. And our second one is usually made in speaking part 2 with pictures. Because it's not enough to just describe those pictures for 1 minute straight. Because you shouldn't describe all the details like weather, colors, clothes, and so on. You should only focus on the main things. Because the structure is briefly describe the pictures, then compare the 2 pictures, what's similar, what's different, and lastly, answer the question or 2 questions in C1 Advanced. By following this simple framework, you structure your answers, which shows the examiner your higher level of English. And the last speaking mistake is not communicating and interacting with your partner enough in part 3 and part 4. Especially in part 3, where you get 2 minutes to collaborate together, to have a conversation about the topic. Don't try to have a monologue for 1 minute straight and then ask your partner, what do you think? That's not how a conversation works. You should go back and forth. Always say 3-4 sentences and then ask your partner for their opinion, their idea, and then also react to what they say. Like, oh, I completely agree, or I couldn't agree more. That's a good point, but I would also add that. And this further develops the conversation. It also really helps to turn yourself and your chair to your partner, so that you are not looking straight into the examiner's eyes, but you are turned to your partner and it feels more like a real conversation. So don't try to dominate the discussion. Try to keep it balanced so that both of you have enough room for speaking. And that's it. Of course, there are many other mistakes, but these are the biggest ones that you are definitely making. So remember, keep practicing all 4 papers, because that's the real and only way you can overcome these mistakes and feel ready and confident on exam day. And if you are really tired of making these mistakes and you don't even know where your other mistakes are, then you can work with me for a personalized Cambridge exam preparation, including one-on-one coaching sessions, speaking and writing feedback, my premium original materials, and a custom study plan. If that sounds good, then you can just check it out by clicking the link down in the description. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.